Hi, today we're not going to be talking about French. Instead, we're going to talk about something that's very close to my heart, adoption. And you know what? You just need two things to take the first step to grow your family through adoption. One, a willing heart. Two, your PAN card. Actually, you just need the heart for it. Everything else you can figure out later. So I'm going to help you understand how simple it is to transform your life while also transforming someone else's. Here are the places you can go for adoption. 1. Cara website. 2. Cara website. 3. Cara website. You see where I'm going with this? Here are the places you shouldn't go to for adoption. Orphanages, hospitals, government or private, families willing to give you their child, NGOs supposedly specializing in adoption, and agencies, institutions of faith even, they're all illegal. All adoption in India has to go through CARA, Central Adoption Resource Authority. You have to follow the process I will be explaining. Any other kind of adoption is illegal. Setting up CARA was a great step by the Government of India. It made costs and processes completely transparent. Just so you know, on paper, the total spend on adoption is 54,000 according to the adoption guidelines of 2017, which in 2021 I think is still the same. But best to confirm these things on CARA's site. The entire adoption process has 7 simple steps. 1. Register for adoption. You can talk to your spouse and do that tonight. If you're single, you don't need to talk to anyone, just register. 2. Upload the required documents, just the basic documents. 3. Get your home study done. A social worker checks whether you'll make good parents. 4. Wait to get matched to a child. 5. Visit the child you've been matched with and bring home the child. You become foster parents. 6. Go to court and make it official. And 7. Just wait for the child's birth certificate to be handed to you with your name as the child's parent on it. That's it. Actually, there's one more step, step 8. There will be 4 half-yearly follow-ups done by the social worker who first visited you. And that completes the process. Let me break this process down for you. If you are considering adoption, get in line now. Register today. If you want to talk to people, research about it, meet adoptive parents, meet adopted children, go on a hike, pray about it, explore the world, or whatever else you want to do, it's fine. Do it later. Register now, get in line, and then go and do whatever you want to do. And even if you decide you don't want to go through with it, please feel free to change your mind before you bring the child home. But register now. Let's start with step 1. If you're an Indian based in India, here's what you need to do to get the ball rolling. Before you register, you need to know for sure whether you want to adopt or not. And to adopt, you'll need to know if you're eligible or not. So if you're healthy and you're Indian, you will most likely qualify to adopt. There are some exceptions which you can check out on CARA's website. So here's how Indian residents need to register for adoption in India. Visit the CARA website. You'll need to enter your personal details, your professional details, details about your children if you have any, your contact details, and 2 more super important things. 1. The agency which will do your home study. Please note that this is not the agency where your child will come from. It is very, very unlikely. But this is the agency where the social worker will come from to assess whether you would make a good parent and whether you have a home where a child could thrive and to verify your documents. So pick an agency close to home. The second thing is your preference for the child. The age of the child may be dependent on your age, and your own gender plus your marital status may limit your choices. You will be able to give your preference for the states you'd like to adopt from, or you can say from anywhere in India. That's what we did. You can choose the age category, the gender, whether you want to adopt one child or whether you're in a position to adopt siblings. You can choose whether you want a normal child or maybe a child with a mental or physical disability. You are allowed to change your preferences after you register, but only twice, I think. And lastly, you need to give your motivation for adoption. Now, please don't postpone your application because you need to think of a response for this. This is a 2 to 3 sentence answer. That's all you'll be able to do in 200 characters. So don't worry. Keep it simple and finish the first step in your application. Fill in the verification code and click submit. And that's it. You're on your way to becoming a parent. Congratulations, you're on step 2. To complete the registration process, you'll need to upload your documents. The important thing to remember is that this video was made in June 2021, and this list may vary when you apply. But here's what is needed right now. Obviously, if you're single, you won't have to upload your marriage certificate. But please remember that if you're a married couple, all the documents that I'm listing out need to be uploaded for both the husband and the wife. 1. A family photograph if a couple are applying, or a photo of the prospective adoptive parent if single. 2. Your PAN card or PAN cards. 3. Your birth certificate or proof of date of birth. 4. Proof of residence. This can be your Aadhaar card, your voter ID, your passport, or even your latest electricity or telephone bill. 5. Your proof of income for the last year. This can be your salary slip, your income certificate issued by a government department, or best of all, your IT return. 6. A certificate from a medical practitioner certifying that you don't suffer from a chronic, contagious, or fatal disease that hinders you from fulfilling your parental responsibilities. Once again, people often ask us this, but please remember, you do not have to give any certificate about fertility or anything like that. Our ability or inability to have a biological child has nothing to do with qualifying to be a parent. That's no one else's business. And lastly, number 7, you need to upload your marriage certificate, your divorce decree, or the death certificate of your spouse, whichever is applicable in your case. There are 3 extra documents you'll have to be prepared with that you'll need at some point. Those are 2 reference letters from your acquaintances or relatives in support of you adopting a child, an undertaking from your sibling that they will take care of the child should anything untoward happen to you, and lastly, if applicable, consent from your current children aged over 5. Make sure you get copies of the IDs of the people giving you reference letters or undertakings. You have 30 to 60 days to upload your documents. Please check the cara website for the current time limit. The tricky thing can be converting the documents to PDF in the small file size that's required by cara. You may need to get help from a designer friend or your local DTP operator. And that's it. Once you click submit, the second step is done. Your documents are sent to the agency that you picked for the home study. We're already on step 3 of our 8-step journey. So let's talk about the home study report, also known as the HSR. This is a pretty straightforward step. As soon as you submit your documents, you'll get the contact details of the agency you picked for the home study. Normally, you will be visited by the social worker within a month or 2. But here's what we suggest. Contact the social worker and ask about 3 things. 1. When would it be convenient for them to do the home study? 2. Ask whether they have any other documents they'd like to review when they visit you, because they are the ones who will approve your eligibility for adoption, and you want to make sure that they're content with what they see. 3. Ask what mode they would like the payment to be in. Normally, the HSR is divided into 2 sections. The first half is to be filled by the prospective adoptive parents, and the second half by the social worker. So it's a good idea for you to have it done before the social worker visits you. So remember, I said you may need some extra documents like the reference letters and the undertaking. Well, some agencies can be pretty specific about who you should get these letters or undertakings from, what IDs are allowed, and other things like that. Always better to be prepared than to be scrambling once they've come for the visit. Remember the adoption binder from friends? Well, being that organized is a very good idea. And here's our trick. We have 2 binders, one with the originals to show the social worker, the second with copies to hand off to the social worker. And this brings us to the first payment. Overall, you will have to pay the combined fee of registration and the home study to the social worker. Best done as online transfer or check or DD. But like I said, ask them so that you're ready with whatever is needed. According to the 2017 adoption guidelines by the Government of India, this fees is Rs 6,000. Once the social worker is happy and convinced that a child would find a good life with you, the social worker will upload the completed home study report and move you to the next stage. That is when you get your seniority in the waiting list for a child to be matched with you. And that's it. From this point on, it's out of your hands. Now we're on step 4, the waiting period. Okay, so if you're like us and want a child in the 0 to 2 age bracket, you're going to have to wait for 2 to 4 years. We registered in December 2017 and our daughter came home in March 2020, just as India went into lockdown because of the pandemic. Now, this is a great time to prepare for parenthood, pray about the child who's coming home, and to engage with other parents, adoptive parents, and prospective adoptive parents. A Facebook group called For and Off Heart Babies for adoptive parents was a great resource for us. Some amazing agencies like the one who did our home study organize workshops for prospective parents to help them through the whole process. I don't recommend visiting the Cara site every day and checking how much you've moved in terms of the waiting list. That can be depressing. We check it once a week and we were happy to see the progress we made. It was slow but steady. There are many theories of how your choices of age, gender, health status, single or siblings, and the state-wise preference affect how quickly your child is going to come home to you. I don't know how the algorithm works, but that's something we committed to prayer and left it to God. We chose any gender, 0 to 2 years, normal, single child from anywhere in India. Now is also a good time to talk about something called immediate placement. If you want to bypass the queue, you can choose something called immediate placement. This category was introduced in 2016 by Cara. This allows prospective parents to opt for a child without a long wait and without compromising their place in the waiting list. My understanding is that children available under immediate placement will include children who have been referred several times to prospective adoptive parents, but for some reason have not found a family. This could be physical attributes, color, minor medical ailments, etc. They may be older children who are above 5 to 6 years of age. They may be siblings together, or where one of them could be in the special needs category. Immediate placement is a great option to cut the waiting time. But if you're a couple planning on opting for this, please have a talk and decide what you're willing to go for. I say this because children in immediate placement get picked up within minutes of being posted there. So you won't have time to confer with each other. You'll just have to pick a profile and go with it. You need to get a sense of when the children's profiles are posted under immediate placement. At one point, it was on Fridays and Mondays. Right now, it's just Fridays are here. You need to figure out that pattern and make sure you check often enough. People in support groups like the Facebook group I mentioned earlier are also in a position to help figure out the frequency of when the children's profiles are posted under immediate placement. In any case, whether you go for immediate placement or Cara matches you with a child, you will get to read the child's details, including a photograph, the child's study report, and the child's medical examination report to help you decide. But you will have only a fixed amount of time to decide. I think it's 24 or 48 hours. If you reserve a child, you move to the next step, else you will be matched with another child after at least 60 days. And if you reject 3 such referrals, you will be moved to the bottom of the waiting list, and it will be a wait for another few years. But let's pray you reserve the first child who's matched with you and move on to the next step of bringing your child home. Step 5 is when you go to meet the child whom you've reserved. This is the step you've been waiting for. And everything I'm saying now is assuming you're going to go bring home the child and not go window shopping. Once you reserve the child, I think you have around 2 weeks to visit the child and bring your child home. So pack your bags and book your tickets. But while you do that, here are a few more things to do. 1. Get a copy of the home study report from the social worker who will most likely give it in a sealed envelope. 2. Contact the agency and ask about 4 things. A. When would it be good for you and your spouse to come to the agency, and how many days they think you may need to stay there. B. Ask them for a list of documents that they require. Yes, Cara has a standard list, but some agencies may require more or different documents apart from Cara's list. C. Ask them for a more recent photo of the child so that you can buy clothes for the child. D. Ask what mode they would like the payment to be in. 3. Update your documents. Get new medical certificates done. Get the latest financial documents and the latest proof of residence. 4. Revise your binders. Make sure you have at least 3 sets this time. 1 with the originals of all identity documents and anything else that you can't hand over. another with self-attested copies of the originals in the first binder plus all the originals that you will hand over, such as the medical certificates, the undertakings, the reference letters, etc. This is for the agency. And one more with self-attested copies of everything in the second binder. This is for the agency to submit in court. Plan to arrive in the place where you have been matched with a child at least one day before the scheduled meeting with the agency. And plan to stay 2 to 3 days. Some agencies expect you to spend some time with the child before handing off the child to you. Some agencies may hand off the child on day 1. But it's really tricky to say because you need to meet a committee which will approve the handing over of the child to you. It's a simple, straightforward affair. Once again, like your meeting with a social worker for the home study, you will meet another social worker and her colleagues to establish that you're a good fit for the child and would make for a great parent or parents. You do have the right to ask to take the child for a medical test. You don't have to do this. We didn't. Brought them home, took them to a doctor here. They are our children no matter what. You need to sign a pre-adoption foster care undertaking. You can add your child's new name in this document, but please remember to take a copy of that. Until you get your birth certificate, this is your child's identity card. And this brings us to the second payment. According to the 2017 adoption guidelines by the Government of India, the childcare corpus fees is Rs 40,000. It's always a good idea to ask for the certificate declaring the child legally free for adoption. You don't need a copy, but it's good to ensure that it's there. You may need to sign some legal paperwork to initiate the court process. But don't worry, that's something the agency will take care of. They will appoint a lawyer for you. And the legal costs are covered in the fees that you pay. Get your receipt for the payments that you make. Now please note that in some cases, the agency may charge you the full 40,000 at this stage. In other cases, the agency may charge you a portion of this amount now and the balance later. Know that the agency cannot and should not solicit donations in cash or kind beyond the payment that is due to them. But that doesn't stop you from voluntarily buying the children at the agency some supplies. Make sure it's documented though. Ask the lawyer when the court is likely to call you. Get a rough sense of things. But know that they won't be able to give you a concrete response at this stage. And that's it. You can take your child home. Congratulations. We're now on step 6 of the 8-step process, going to court. At some point, you'll be contacted by the agency to inform you about the date for the court hearing. You and your child have to go for this hearing. Once again, please plan to arrive the day before your scheduled hearing and plan to leave at least 1 or 2 days after that. And again, make sure you update your documents. Get the latest financial records, get an updated medical test, latest proof of residence, and update anything else that can be updated. We already had a binder of original documents. We created yet another binder of self-attested copies and the updated originals that we could hand off. The court operates broadly under the guidance of what the government has set up through the adoption guidelines, but it is not bound by it. The timelines can be much longer. Many things depend on the judge, many things depend on the court, many things actually depend on the state the adoption is happening in. Anyway, this will most likely be a lot of waiting for a quick hearing in front of the judge in court or just a visit in her chambers. Carry enough food, water, and distraction for the kids. If you can, please look at the documents that are submitted in court to verify the date of birth of the child, the spellings of your names, and the spellings of the child's new name. Ensure that the old name doesn't appear as an alias with the new name. And that's it, you're done. Just so you know, once the case is filed in court, you can track its progress on the eCourts app. Hopefully one visit is enough. For our first daughter, we had to go twice. Anyway, that is another cost to consider. The childcare corpus fee that you pay to the agency is one thing, but each visit, travel, food, and accommodation should also be part of your budget plan. That's the end of step 6. We're in the final stretch now, step 7 of an 8-step process. Just wait for your birth certificate. Like I said earlier, you can track the progress of the case on the eCourts app. You can find the link in the description. Once the court signs off the order, please ask the agency for a copy of the adoption decree and of the birth certificate. The agency should be able to courier these to you. Once you get the certificate, ensure the details are correct, else get it sorted by the agency. Don't let anything be even slightly wrong or different. Ensure the old name doesn't appear on the birth certificate even as an alias. And that's it. It's pretty amazing to see your name on the adoption decree, but it's a really beautiful feeling to see your name on the birth certificate of the child. With this birth certificate, you can apply for an Aadhaar, a passport, a ration card, anything for the child. You are now legally the parents of this child. And the child now has a legal identity of being your child. That brings us to the final step of the whole adoption process, the follow-up visits. The agency which conducted your home study report will also conduct 4 half-yearly follow-up visits. Each of these visits will cost you 2,000 rupees according to the 2017 adoption guidelines by the Government of India. And that's it. You're well on your new journey with your new family member by now. Enjoy the trip. If you found this video useful or you'd like to share your adoption experience or would like to ask a question, please do so in the comments section. We really hope that this video is a blessing to you as you plan to expand your family. All the best.